Everybody, and welcome back to the Beulah Public Library's YouTube page. My name is Miss Jamie, and if you're new in here and hopping on, I am the story editor coordinator here at the Beulah Library, and this week we are going to be talking about our library. But February is also known for National Library Lovers Month, which is for celebration for everybody who appreciates the library and participates, which would be you guys, my virtual storytime readers. Hello, I'm so happy you guys are tuning in. So like I said, for this week, we're going to be talking all about our library. So I've got some good books about the library that I want to read. And before we dive into those, craft packets will be available today if you're watching this at the Beulah Public Library. So if you are wanting to pick up a craft packet, please do so. And our craft this week is actually going to be making our own book. So since we are talking about the library and what we love to read and love to go places, to sit down and read at the library, what do we all have in common with that? Books. So for our craft this week, you are going to be making your very own book, and it has a very own end page, which you can write all about you, see all about the author, and then my cover page, and inside I left it blank for our craft, but you can make your own story, and we'll dive into that after we read some of these books. Alright, so before we dive right on in, we are going to be singing our intro song, which is our welcome song, which is If You're Ready for a Story. So we're going to get our hands ready to clap. Ready? If you're ready for a story, clap your hands. If you're ready for a story, clap your hands. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, clap your hands. If you're ready for a story, wiggle your ears. If you're ready for a story, wiggle your ears. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, wiggle your ears. If you're ready for a story, touch your nose. If you're ready for a story, touch your nose. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, touch your nose. Okay, so let's dive into it. Alright, so like I said that we're going to be talking about the library and reading about the library, I have a few books that I would like to read to you guys. So the first book I have is called The Not So Quiet Library. So let's dive right in. The Not So Quiet Library. Every Saturday, Oscar and Theodore got up bright and early. Not to watch cartoons or play outside with their friends. It was the day they went to the library with Dad. Dad always said that a day of quiet exploration required a proper breakfast. Look at all those yummy donuts. At the library, Theodore and Oscar returned their old books, waved to Mrs. Watson, and crept past old pickled onion Mr. Tasker. They headed down to the children's department while Dad headed up to the nap department. Oscar and Theodore were just settling into another quiet library day when boom, crash, growl. Shh, knock it off, Theodore. Boom, crash, growl. It appeared there was a monster in the library. Ah, there's a monster in the library. I told you it wasn't me, said Theodore. They couldn't outrun the monster. You better not mess with us, monster. My brother knows kung fu. Yeah, right, said the monster. They tried hiding and bluffing. They even tried trapping the monster, but that just made him angrier. The only option left was diplomacy. Excuse me, Mr. Monster, is something wrong? Yeah, there's something wrong. We hate books. The many-headed monster had tried everything to make books taste good. Seymour topped his with whipped cream. This book tastes terrible. Chuck tried mustard. Yuck! Winston swallowed his book whole, and Pat tried hot sauce. Should have picked a soft cover. Bob used sprinkles, but they just bounced off. Actually, books are for reading. What? You mean this whole restaurant is filled with things we can't eat? Well, we'll just have to eat you guys instead, said the monsters. Grab the sprinkles, Winston. Wait. That's when Theodore remembered something. Donuts! Perfect, you guys will taste great with donuts on top. Yummy yum! Thankfully, Miss Watson stepped in. Story time, everyone. Please sit crisscross applesauce. Applesauce, said the monsters. We like applesauce. Story time? Sounds tasty. Sorry about the whole gonna eat you thing. That was just a low blood sugar talking, said the monsters. I don't know what's better, this book or this donut. Books sound so much better than they taste. Luckily, monsters like story time as much as they like donuts. After story time, the monster promised to clean up the library. Besides, Miss Watson could really use some help reaching the high shelves. The boys promised to return for story time every Saturday. After Bob, Seymour, Winston, Pat, and Chuck promised to not eat them. And that's how the not-so-quiet library became quiet again. All right, I really like that book actually a lot. I've never read that before. Have you guys? I have not. It was super cute. And remember, that one was called The Not-So-Quiet Library. What we're going to sing next is the Itsy Bitsy Spider. When I think of the library and I think of story times, I think about songs that I can sing that you guys might know at home too, so we can practice together. So one of those would be the Itsy Bitsy Spider. And so we're going to grab our fingers to make our spider. So if you know the song, follow along with me and we'll sing it a couple times. The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. One more time. Let's get our spiders ready. The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. Perfect. All right, and I have another book about story time actually. And this book is called Chicken Story Time. So let's dive into it. Chicken Story Time. Story time at the library. Tales to tales. Don't forget to read to your dog. Story time at the library. One librarian, one story and children, and a chicken. The children like the chicken like the children. Let's begin, says the librarian. Everyone loves story time. 1 week later, story time at the library. One librarian, one story, and more children. And more chickens. The children like chickens. The chickens like the children. Please be seated, says the librarian. Everybody loves story time. 1 week later, story time at the library. One librarian, one story. Many children and many chickens. The children laugh. Ha ha ha. The chickens cluck. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Settle down now, says the librarian, but nobody can hear her. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Let's begin, she says. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Please be seated, she says. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Ah, cluck, 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 cluck. Settle down now, she says. Children and chickens everywhere, but only one librarian. What are we to do? She says. Cluck, 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 say the chickens. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Story time at the library. Lots of children and flocks of chickens. Shelves and shelves of stories. The children like the chickens, and the chickens like the children. And everybody loves story time, especially the librarian. The end. That book kind of reminds me of Old MacDonald Had a Farm. And if you guys know that, you should sing along with me too. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had some chickens, E-I-E-I-O. With a cluck cluck here and a cluck cluck there. Here cluck, there cluck, everywhere cluck cluck. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. What other animals can we think of that are on the farm? I know of one, a cow. So let's sing for that. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had some cows, E-I-E-I-O. With a moo-moo here and a moo-moo there. Here moo, there moo, everywhere moo moo. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Okay, let's do one more. What is another farm animal? I'm thinking of pig, so let's oink like pigs this time. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had some pigs, E-I-E-I-O. With a oink oink there and a oink oink here. There oink here oink everywhere and oink oink. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Alright, and let's read our next book, Library Lion. And this is actually a very popular book, so you might have seen this before, but it is a great book. So let's get into it. Library Lion. One day, a lion came to the library. He walked right past the circulation desk and up into the stacks. Mr. McBee ran down the hall to head the librarian's office. Miss Merriweather, he called. No running, said Miss Merriweather, without looking up. But there's a lion, said Mr. McBee, in the library. Is he breaking any rules? Asked Mrs. Merriweather. She was very particular about rule breaking. Well, no, said Mr. McBee, not really. Then leave him be, she said. The lion wandered all around the library. He sniffed the card catalog. He rubbed his head against the new book collection. Then he padded over to the story corner and went to sleep. No one was sure what to do. There weren't any rules about lions in the library. Soon it was time for story hour. There weren't any rules about lions at a story hour either. The story lady seemed a little nervous, but she read out the first book's title in a good, clear voice. The lion looked up, and the story lady kept reading. The lion stayed for the next story, and the story after that. He waited for another story, but the children began to walk away. Story hour is over, a little girl told him. It's time to go. The lion looked at the children. He looked at the story lady. He looked at the closed books. Then he roared very loud. Roar! Miss Merriweather came striding out of her office. Who is making that noise? She demanded. It's the lion, said Mr. McBee. Miss Merriweather marched over to the lion. "If you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave," she said in a stern voice. "Those are the rules." The lion kept roaring. He sounded sad. The little girl tugged on Miss Merriweather's dress. "If he promises to be quiet, can he come back for story hour tomorrow?" she asked. The lion stopped roaring. He looked at Miss Merriweather. Miss Merriweather looked back. Then she said, "Yes, a nice quiet lion certainly would be allowed to come back for story hour tomorrow." "Hooray!" said the children. The next day, the lion came back. "You are early," said Miss Merriweather. "Story hour is not until 3 o'clock." But the lion did not budge. "Very well," said Miss Merriweather. "You might as well make yourself useful." She sent him off to dust the encyclopedias until it was time for story hour. The next day, the lion came early again. This time, Miss Merriweather asked him to lick all the envelopes for the overdue notices. See him licking it? Soon the lion began doing the things without even being asked. He dusted the encyclopedias, licked the envelopes. He even let the small children stand on his back to reach the books on the highest shelves. Then he curled up in the story corner to wait for story hour to begin. At first, the people in the library were nervous about the lion, but soon they got used to having him around. In fact, he seemed very well suited for the library. His big feet were quiet on the library floor. He made a comfy backrest for the children at story hour, and he never roared in the library anymore. "What a helpful lion," people said. They patted his soft head as he walked by. "How did we ever get along without him?" Ugh, Mr. McBee scowled when he heard that. They had always gotten along fine before. No lions were needed. Lions, he thought, could not understand rules. They did not belong in the library. One day, after he dusted all the encyclopedias and licked the envelopes and helped all the small children, the lion padded down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. There was still some time left before story hour. "Hello, Lion," said Mrs. Merriweather. "I know something you can do. You can bring a book back into the stacks for me. Let me just get it down from the shelf." Miss Merriweather stepped onto the step stool. The book was just out of reach. She stood on her fingers and Miss Merriweather stood on her toes. She stretched out her fingers. "Almost there," she said. Then Miss Merriweather stretched a little too far. "Ouch!" said Miss Merriweather softly. She did not get up. "Mr. McBee," she called after a minute. "Mr. McBee!" But Mr. McBee was at the circulation desk. He could not hear her calling. "Lion," said Miss Merriweather, "please go and get Mr. McBee." The lion ran down the hall. "No running!" Miss Merriweather called after him. The lion put his big front paws up on the circulation desk and looked at Mr. McBee. "Go away, lion," said Mr. McBee. "I'm busy." The lion whined. He pointed his nose down the hall towards Mrs. Merriweather's office. Mr. McBee ignored him. Finally, the lion did the only thing he could think of to do. He looked at Mr. McBee right in the eye. Then he opened his mouth very wide, and he roared the loudest roar he had ever roared in his life. Roar! "Oh my gosh," Mr. McBee gasped. "You're not being quiet," he said to the lion. "You're breaking the rules." Mr. McBee walked down the hall as fast as he could. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what he meant. He hung his head and he walked towards the doors. Mr. McBee did not notice. "Miss Merriweather," he called out as he walked. "Miss Merriweather, the lion broke the rules. He broke the rules." He burst into Miss Merriweather's office. She was not in her chair. "Miss Merriweather?" he asked. "Sometimes," said Miss Merriweather from the floor behind her desk, "there is a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. Now please go call a doctor. I think I've broken my arm." Mr. McBee ran to call a doctor. "No running!" Miss Merriweather called after him. The next day, things were back to normal. Almost. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in a cast, though the doctor had told her not to work too hard. "I will have my lion help me," Miss Merriweather thought, but the lion did not come to the library that morning. At 3 o'clock, Miss Merriweather walked over to the story corner, the story lady just beginning a story for the children, and the lion was not there. People in the library kept looking up from their books and computer screens, hoping they'd see a familiar furry face. But the lion did not come that day. The lion did not come to the next day, either. Or the day after that. One evening, Mr. McBee stopped by Miss Merriweather's office on his way out. "Can I do anything here for you before I go, Miss Merriweather?" he asked her. "No, thank you," she said. She was looking out the window. Her voice was very quiet, even for the library. Mr. McBee frowned as he walked away. He thought there probably was something he could do for Miss Merriweather, after all. "You think he's going to find the lion? I sure hope so." Mr. McBee left the library, but he did not go home. He walked around the neighborhood. He looked under cars. He looked behind bushes. He looked in the backyards and trash cans and the tree houses. Finally, he circled all the way back to the library. The lion was sitting outside, looking through the glass doors. "Hello, lion," said Mr. McBee. The lion did not turn around. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a new rule at the library. No roaring allowed, unless you're trying to help a friend who's been hurt, for example." The lion's ears twitched. He turned around, but Mr. McBee was already walking away. The next day, Mr. McBee walked down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office. "What is it, Mr. McBee?" asked Miss Merriweather in her new, sad, quiet voice. "I thought you might like to know, Mr. McBee," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a lion in the library." Miss Merriweather jumped up from her chair and ran down the hall. Mr. McBee smiled. "No running," he called after her, but Miss Merriweather did not listen. Sometimes there was a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. The end. I think out of all of those books, The Library Lion had to be my favorite. I think that was a really good story. What story was your guys' favorite? Was it Library Lion? Was it Chicken Story Time? Or was it The Not So Quiet Library? Now we're going to pause and play a quick game of Simon Says. So, before our last story and before our craft, we're just going to play the game Simon Says, but we're going to say Miss Jamie Says. So, whatever I say, you guys have to copy me, okay? Simon says, touch your nose. Simon says, strike a pose. Simon says, wiggle your ears. Simon says, touch your head. Simon says, close your eyes. Simon says, open them. Simon says, touch your chin. We'll do a couple more. Simon says, do a silly face. And then Simon says, sit down and listen. Okay, let's read our last book. And this one is one of my favorites. It's called Just a Story. And this is actually inspiring our craft of making our own book, which you will see if you picked up a craft packet. So let's read this book and then we will be doing our craft. Just a Story. This is just a story about a boy who was almost captured by pirates. And then, look, it's another lion. Almost eaten by a lion. And then almost trampled by a herd of wild elephants. And then almost stomped on by a big baby dragon. And then almost squished by a belly-flopping blue whale. And then he was almost carried by an alien with a tractor beam and an Elvis wig, flying a spaceship high above the clouds. And then, worst of all, almost kissed, but not quite. Actually, there was nothing to worry about. Want to know why? Because this is just a story. The end. I like that book so much, and that's why I wanted you guys to make your very own story. Just like that, and how he got attacked by pirates and elephants, and there was a big blue baby whale. The author, Jeff Mack, made his story anything he wanted to be. And that's what I want you guys to do. So if you picked up a craft packet, you're going to be seeing a blank one of these. That'll be folded. You'll have your own pages, and then you have a backside, which you can write all about you. So I printed a picture of myself, and I put about the author. Miss Jamie works at the Beulah Public Library. So whatever you get done writing about, you can write about yourself at the end. So you could either print a picture out or take a picture you already have, or you could even draw yourself because it's your book. So in your craft packet, you will be having some buttons, some stickers, and some. So in your craft packet, not only will you be getting a book like this, but you'll also be getting some buttons and some stickers, so you can let your imagination run wild and make your book about anything you want it to be. So all I did was I just colored my own page, and I colored it pink and blue, and I wrote my title to be What to Read, and the book is by Miss Jamie. So you can pick out what your book is called, and you can write it right here, and then put your book by you because you're the author. So you can make this anything you want it to be, and when you're done making your own story, you can have your parents help you write it, and you can color your own pages to make your story whatever you want it to be. Just like how he made his about pirates and whales and baby dragons, or how this author made his about a library lion. You can make yours about anything, about superheroes, animals, your family, you, school, anything. So if you guys pick one of these up or make your own story, I hope that you guys can, if you're comfortable, please send them in so we can show off your awesome artistic work. Usually I go in a little more in depth with the instructions on the craft, but this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's for you to let your imagination run wild and make your own story. Make it anything you want it to be. And I hope you guys do send them in because I would love to see them. And maybe even you can send in a video to our email at beulahlibrary@gmail.com. And you could read your own story to me. And mine's called What to Read, a book by Miss Jamie. And inside I wrote, my name is Miss Jamie. I pick up 3 to 4 books to read out loud to kids every Tuesday. They are about a lot of things, superheroes, snowmans, and everything in between. It is my favorite thing to do. The end. And then I put, like I said, about the author. Miss Jamie works at the Beulah Public Library. So if you stop on by and pick those up, like I said, I really do hope you guys send them in, especially being virtual. I miss seeing your guys' faces, so if I could see you guys' cool artistic work, I would love that too. All right, so after that, we will be singing our goodbye song. And if you guys are needing any assistance in picking up craft packets or any help at all, just please call the library and we would be more than happy to help you guys. But on that note, I want to say thank you so much for spending some of your time with me and letting me read to you guys. I look forward to it every Tuesday. And on next Tuesday, we will be having a special video with including all of our staff here at the Beulah Public Library in honor of National Libraries Lover Month. We will be showing Miss Jessie, and we will be showing Miss June and Miss Kelsey, some new faces and some familiar ones, so you can get to know all of us. So you don't want to miss out that video. So you guys don't want to miss that video, and I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope you guys are too. So I hope you guys have a fantastic Thursday and a great rest of your week and an enjoyable weekend, and you stay safe and stay warm. So we will say goodbye with our song, which is Adios, mi amigos, which means goodbye, my friends, in Spanish. Adios, mi amigos, adios. Adios, mi amigos, adios. Adios, mi amigos, adios, mi amigos, adios, mi amigos, adios. Goodbye, my friends, goodbye. Goodbye, my friends, goodbye. Goodbye, my friends, goodbye, my friends, goodbye, my friends, goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next Thursday.